Hey kittens, I really need to get like a nice background. I don't know, my plushie's pretty cute and all that shit. But anyway, as you have seen in the title, today is an Andie Talks, and I haven't done that in a long time. Mostly because I usually just talk about sort of big issues and shit in my diary, and I was kind of thinking about whether I should just sort of do a passing mention for this particular topic in my diary. Oh my god, I just ate and now talking is a bad idea. Ugh. I might still probably sort of mention it in summary in my diary, but whenever I get introspective about stuff, I start to realise a lot of things, and a lot of things in my life are obviously interconnected because, they're good at her. And this is actually a very big part of my life. Like, I've written a whole, I don't know if you guys see, but I've written like loads of notes just in an effort to kind of keep me on track. So I'm going to try and keep on track as much as I can about this without reading off my phone from too much, but because you guys know I always go on tangents. If I don't, I will end up going on tangents anyway. But see, I already did that. I've already off on a tangent. But basically, this is sort of a talk about my asexual experience / my journey with sexuality from the past till now. Although mostly I just wanted to comment on the asexual thing because someone did mention to me in passing, because I've got some kinky things, and they're like, oh, aren't you asexual? I was just like, aha, asexuality is a very complicated thing. It's a spectrum. I do remember now that I used to refer to myself as being demi-asexual before it kind of went to mostly full asexual. Full asexual mode comes generally in winter, but I will touch upon that. But yeah, I realised that it's actually quite a big part of my life, and especially now that I'm in a period of healing, and hopefully 2018 should be really good because it's a period of healing and I'm really going to try and heal and just get my life back on track. So I thought this would be a good thing to talk about because it is something which has impacted me greatly for a lot of my life, and only now I'm healing, which is annoying because I'm like nearly 22 next year and it's taking me this long, but it's kind of cathartic to just talk about it, and I'm kind of warm. Hey guys, look, Christmas! Hopefully when I upload this, it'll be uploaded on the Saturday, and it's acceptable to be Christmas because you see, it's Finn, and yeah, I got this comic on it. She's cute, and I was like, I have an excuse to wear it now. Anyway, I'm going to refer to my notes. So it's a quick disclaimer. Obviously, what I say about this is my thoughts and opinion on asexuality and sexuality in general. Obviously, we're not the same. We're all different. Everyone has different thoughts and views, and everyone has gone through this journey differently. And for some people, it may not affect them as strongly as it has affected me. All I can say is that if you're ever unsure about someone's sexuality or whatever, if they're comfortable about it, ask them, get their opinion on it. Because, communication is the big thing, and learning to be honest and communicating with myself is one of the reasons that I decided to be pretty introspective about this topic and think about it and write it out. Because even after I wrote it out, I was like, yeah, I don't need to talk about this, I've written it out now, I've gotten all my thoughts. But I figured that I feel as though my particular journey may be something that a lot of people can sort of sympathise with, especially if you are Asian like me. We're a huge fetish, and that has compounded in some pretty shitty negative experiences on my journey of sexuality. So, let's just start off with what an asexual is. It's a person with no sexual feelings or desires, and guys, why are you messaging me? But I'm going to touch upon sort of 4 topics throughout this. I mean, I did them best to be as linear as possible, but everything is sort of interconnected anyway. But I'm going to be touching upon how asexuality is a spectrum, as I've mentioned earlier. It's not black and white. Sexuality is a crazy wild thing. And it's not 2 binaries or whatever. It's a giant, beautiful rainbow spectrum, RGB, all that shit. It's great. And I'm going to talk about how nature, social and environmental factors have affected me in my journey of sexuality. Then I'm going to talk about how I identified myself / realised I was asexual. And then I'm going to touch on to healing and power play. So that's sort of back to the present. But anyway, like I was saying, asexuality, it's a spectrum. You can go from, because people are always changing, and that's the great thing about humans. We're always changing. We always have the potential to learn new things, and then we can use that information to change ourselves. And asexuality is, well, for me, it's a odd thing, it being a spectrum, but the thing to remember is that it's a spectrum. There's no one set way to be asexual. Like, for example, because one of you guys mentioned that, hey, didn't you say you're a sex repulsed asexual? And that is one of the far ends of the spectrum you can get. You can get asexuals who want absolutely nothing to do with sex. They don't even want to think about it. They think dicks are gross, sex is gross. They just don't want to be near that shit. And that can be me sometimes. Or you can have people who come down low the scale where they're comfortable with having it with their partners. There are a lot of long-lasting relationships where the partner is not asexual and one partner is asexual, but it works out because the asexual is comfortable with having sex with their partner. And it's just a really tricky thing because some asexuals can masturbate. And here's the thing, a lot of people are like, huh, but if you're asexual, why can you masturbate? I think because an important distinction to make is that sexual pleasure is a combination of mental and physical. And so with masturbation, it can just be a purely physical thing. Like, it's just good physical stimulation that feels nice. There's no sexual connotations of it necessarily. It's just usually associated with that. And that's a very important thing to remember. There are different factors in what things can be considered sexual, but these things can be explored from a non-sexual lens and explored through different means. Because that's what I was saying. For me, like, it depends what you view as sexual, basically. Depends on your own definition. So that's what I'm saying, a disclaimer for this, because this is my sort of thoughts and views on what I find is, and what I consider to be sort of sexual. It's very, I will explain it more, but I need to if anyone's curious, I had a 4-cheese ravioli for lunch. It was great. Okay, so let's talk about my asexual spectrum. Now, mine can go from all the way there, from being absolutely fucking disgusted to all the way to being very open to the idea. And as some of you guys may already know my history, I've had some very negative experiences which have contributed to why I can be so repulsed. Like, when I'm really, really repulsed, like, even just the idea of, like, a guy's burner against me just really just disgusts me. Like, ugh. And usually, this can usually sort of, it usually goes hand in hand with my mental health. It's the thing that I've generally said. Like, usually when I'm not doing too good, and generally, as you guys know, I have depression, and generally depression does affect your libido. So that already just makes you sort of uninterested, less sensitive. So that is one sort of contributing factor for me, the fact that mental health just makes me generally uninterested. For instance, I'm recording this in winter, and in winter I'm usually not so good because there's not much sunlight, so I'm just at the moment very much uninterested for the most part. But when it's really bad, I'm just like, ew, it's just not on my mind at all. Like, just not on my mind. But sometimes when I'm alright, I actually kind of get horny. It's really weird, and I'm sort of interested in it, but that is a sort of confusing thing for me because it's also linked a bit with my personality disorder, and you'll see why I can be unsure about what these feelings mean sometimes, because I can often act on the high coaster where I'm just overly with the positive, but they're not necessarily positive, they're just construed to be positive. It's very, I know, I'm not explaining this very well. It makes so much more sense in my notes, you guys. I'm not good at translating my notes into proper, coherent sentences and all that. But generally, indication of good mental stability is how I feel about sexual things. Generally, if I'm good, I'm open to it, but if I'm not, I just don't want to hear about it, because, you know, that's natural. But for me personally, when I'm comfortable with that idea, I do sort of approach it not necessarily in a sexual context, but rather as, hey, this feels good, I like doing this because it feels good. And I'm just trying to see if I did mention these. Did I mention this? I can't remember where I've put things in, but I'm just going to put it in there because for me, I did like discover masturbation at a very young age, and obviously when you're young, like, you're just doing things and it just feels good, because I think a lot of people discover it this way. They just keep doing it because it feels good, and for me that's like a narrative that always stuck, which is why I'm comfortable doing it now, and why I'm comfortable doing some things with Evan, because it's more like, I'm not doing it because it turns me on, because I don't really get turned on by things. I'm doing it because, hey, this feels nice, and you're giving it to me because you love me, and that's a nice feeling. And we'll get onto that later, but that's what I'm saying. Some sexual acts, they don't just have the sexual feelings attached, they do have other sort of lens attached to it. It's not just one thing. It is, again, it's like one whole big ball. It's not black and white. It's different for everyone, and this is how it is for me. Like, and in theory, sex can be appealing to me, but generally because of my anatomy anyway, it's just not comfortable because I'm small, bitch. And obviously with depression, my body don't quite work as well as it should be doing. And that's also that. And then I also have this because of whatever hormones are not lacking. Because I'm pretty sure my depression is just due to me lacking whatever hormones I should be having, but they're not coming into my body because my body hates me. So let me see. Sexual experiences for me are based more on the sort of psychological aspect rather than the sexual, sort of like, you know, exploring vulnerability in a relationship or as a form of bonding. That's what I've always said in the recent year when I've realised that yes, I am probably asexual, is that I see it as a really intimate thing, a really bonding kind of activity to do rather than something that I do just because I have some sort of weird animal passion, which I know seems to be the normal thing for people who are sexual people. So again, I just can't really you know, empathize with that because I'm not like that. And then I have this other thing where my mind and body is like not in sync, but I think it's more because my mind has a lot of, still it's really influenced and it's still really ingrained from all the negative input I've had over my years about sexuality, which I think it's more like my body is doing what my body wants, but my mind still pushes my body to do things that it doesn't necessarily want to do, if that makes sense. I know I'm not necessarily making much sense. I really hope I am. I'm trying to do it from my nose. It's really hard. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, but now that was sort of my thing about the spectrum where I am on it. And now we're going to go on to nature, social and environmental impacts, which is like how I am and why my journey in sexuality / my realization about it and why it took so long for me to sort of begin. Okay, so the nature is like who you are as a person. It's your personality, and obviously these things can be affected by social and environment, but nature is one of the things which kind of persists throughout. And I'm pretty sure by nature I have always been someone who is asexual, you know? But but I think because of my personality in terms of how receptive I am and wanting to fit in with people and thinking things are cool and embodying what I think is cool, that's where it got me done fucked up, yo. And it's kind of hard for me to think about because I don't really have that many memories of way back when, as in, they're pretty sort of hidden away, but for me, it made me sort of behave in certain ways because I took pride in being the weird kid, or being that weird sort of shocking kid, you know, because I went to an all-girls school, mostly all white, and I was already sort of an outsider / an outcast because I was the only Chinese kid, so I took pride in being something a little bit different, a little bit weird. So obviously when I first learned about adult things, I took pride in being the one who knew about all that, to use it to shock my friends because that's what made me stand out, you know. So I think that's one of the things which got me done goofed, and this does link into the social factor. A social is how people around you have affected and influenced you in your learning and all that, and your behaviours. And, you know, for this, I am like mad pissed because when I talk about social, I'm referring to society. Now, in England, I'm not sure about in other countries, but in England, for sure, in Western countries, for sure, it's a very heavily sex-based culture. Sex is used to sell pretty much fucking everything. It's in movies everywhere. It's normalized. Well, heterosexual sex anyway. Like, I am just, like I said, sexualization starts at a young age, especially for moi. I'm a straight up fucking fetish. So, you know, like, I'm still mad about this because, like I said, it starts at a young age, and you can see it even more now because that's why I'm still mad, because it's happening today, and you can see the effects even more now today, that young kids aren't getting to be young kids. They're already being forced to sort of think about how they're viewed through a sexual lens, and already viewing how they're already viewing themselves through a sexual lens instead of just learning to be kids, you know. And it just makes me mad. And like, I was, because I'm a little gremlin, I latched onto that, I embodied it, I thought it made me cool. So I basically forced myself to be a sort of sexual person at a young age. And it's funny because even though I masturbated, like, I never really connected it as a sexual thing to me. So, like, even with the influence of that. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I think by nature I have always been asexual. And it's like, I grew up in the age of internet, FYI, like when it was, early 90s, sort of late 90s when chat rooms were really prevalent. And like, there wasn't that much regulation going on with the internet in terms of making sure you don't talk to bad people. And yeah, this is where the relationships with wrong people really come into my life. And a key point in me having other people's sexuality, ideas of sexuality thrust upon me, and me embodying that because that's what I thought I had to do, was that I was groomed at a young age. When I was like sort of the wee age of 16, I was groomed by this guy. And I was basically inserted into his female domination fantasy, and he put me on a pedestal. And obviously, when you're a young kid and the older person's paying you attention, you think that's really cool, right? And it just makes me mad that I fell into that trapping, and I'm glad that I didn't come out of it as bad as it could have. But like I said, it has affected me adversely, and that's one of the things. Like, even though I did eventually cut that off, like the damage was already done because formative years, and that was one of the key turning points where I was like, okay, so if I want guys to like me, sex is what I should do. Because bear in mind, I went to an all-girls school, didn't know how to deal with guys because I've been taught and socialised that guys were some sort of weird, completely different thing, even though I know gender is a dumb bullshit construct. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Grumble, grumble. Okay, so basically it took like consecutive relationships, and the way I had behaved in those relationships, that's why it took me so long to realise I was ace, because I basically thought that just being sexual when interacting with guys was the way I had to be, because that's how I would always learn how to be. And you guys know, relationships for me are a weird thing, and I'm not very good at them, so obviously I latched onto the one way I thought was good, when we all know now it was not good, and I'm still like trying to unlearn it today. And let's just segue into environmental and how that affects me. And like I said, environment is where you're brought up and how it affects your views of the world, etc. And like I said, I was brought up in an all-girls school. And this is why I'm saying, hey, let's put kids in a mixed school, just teach them that we're not so different, because they're really not. A lot of brain differences actually come as a result of socialization. I did psychology, I read psychology still. I know the shit, because I'm not even a girl. Okay, I'm just an Andie, I don't have a gender. Okay, so basically I was in an all-girls school until I was 18. So I was obviously like really comfortable around girls because that's all I had been around. My whole life I was really like comfortable and happy and stuff. Well, not to say happy. Actually, this was pre-depression, major depression. So I was just like basically very comfy around girls, but zero socialization with boys. So I hadn't had the time to just learn and realize that, hey, they're just other people, they just happen to have a slightly different body part, and nowadays you can have certain body parts which the other gender usually has, but you can still be that gender, you know what I mean? I just put it in a really construed way, but basically, you know what I mean. Body parts don't mean jack shit when it comes to gender and what you guys decide to express yourself as, but the point being was that I had been taught that guys were some sort of weird other gender, so I had no idea how to interact with that. And this was before I even really knew that I might I knew that I was probably kind of queer to begin with, but because I had never interacted with them, I was just like, le horror. So basically that led me to believing the only way to have a relationship with a guy was to be sexual. Like, I had been fed that classic narrative that all guys want is sex. So I was like, okay, I want guys to like me because they seem cool and people seem to think they're cool, so maybe I want this guy to like me, so I guess I'll just be a really sexual person. And that's basically what I did. And literally, I think because of the heteronormative bullshit has been fed me, I've only actually ever dated guys, even though I would love to date some girls. But because of the stupid narrative just slammed in my face. And then it's like, and because of that, but even when I was at sort of sixth form, this is pre-uni, I never really interacted with guys anyway because I was still like, they're just kind of weird. But when I got to uni, this is where the bullshit kicked off. Like, in uni, I was off the rails fucking with uni because obviously since I had all this sort of negative sexual influence upon me, trying to be someone I wasn't, because I thought being a sexual being was something I was meant to be, and I thought that's what I wanted to be, even though I know so well that it's not really what I want to be. But it just manifested itself as a horrible self-destructive behaviour when I was at uni, because I had been told that was the only way. Like, I'd been told that being with guys made you cool, you know, and I had always wanted to be the popular kid, so I just did that because I thought it made me popular. And I'm just like, girl, why did you not love yourself? I just didn't have the right role models. Even though I had all this access to the internet, I was just still in learning with the wrong crowd, trying to be someone. Basically what I'm saying, I've spent so much time trying to be someone I'm not, and it just all manifested and backfired horribly as negative behaviours, negative experiences, and I'm just like, ugh. And you know, like I said, especially with the self-destructive behaviour, promiscuity is one of the larger self-destructive behaviours prominent in people with depression. You see, and here's a thing which shows just how badly I was socialised into thinking that, hey, yeah, being someone who's sexual and makes me cool is something I want to be, is that my first time, I didn't even tell my boyfriend it was my first time, because I didn't want him to think I was less cool, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't tell him because I didn't want him to think less of me, even though I know that's so stupid. Like, that's just how badly I had been socialised, even to the point that I even, like, encouraged the rumour that I had sex with someone at a party just so I would have some sort of facilitation around the fact I wasn't a virgin anymore. Even though I wasn't, even though there's nothing wrong with it, and even though virginity is just a concept. That's the point I'm making. That's how bad the socialisation for being a sexual person was for me. And, you know, and sometimes I wish I had, like, a proper first time, but it doesn't really matter now. It's in the past, and I don't regret letting him have it, even though he didn't know. I think I did tell him later that it had been, but that's just what I'm saying. I spend so much time trying to be something I'm not. You know, and like I said, you know, relationships are hard for me. Mental health, childhood emotional neglect, that's made it really hard for me to form normal, healthy relationships, which is why I reached out in such an unhealthy manner, using sex as a tool, or using my sexuality as a tool, even though it wasn't really the way to do it. So it's like, even though I have romantic relationships, those went badly because I use this as an attempt to connect. Yeah, I'd still being socialised that sex is the way to connect the best, which is why I'm so mad, which is why I always tell people that sex shouldn't be the number one thing which keeps you in a relationship. It's not as important unless you decide it to be. There's so many other factors into going into it, and I know this now. It's just annoying that I didn't then. And it's like, so in whichever relationship, I always went into the relationship being a really sexual person. I would always give sex really early on because I thought this is what I had to do to get them to stay with me. And I know that sounds so bad. And it's like, so I would give them sex even if I didn't want sex, and I would ask for sex even if I didn't want sex because I thought that's what I had to do. You know, and I know it's getting dark outside, so I know it's getting a bit dark on camera. Whoa. And even today, because that's so ingrained in me, I still ask to do sexual things with Evan, even when I don't want to. So I actually need to ask him to ask me minimum of 3 times if I'm sure I want to do it, because chances are 50-50 chance I'm probably not. I'm probably just asking because I think that's what I want to do. You see, it's literally, I'm just trying to unlearn all this bad shit that people have pushed onto me that I have embodied because I thought I wanted. It's just Anyway, we're on to the third topic, which is realising my sexuality / how I kind of identified it. And I realised around my second ex. And if you guys know about my second ex, you know what he did to me. Like, it took a lot of years to sort of see over my socialised behaviour, to be able to step back from it and see and sort of be honest with myself about what I really feel and think. Like I said, the turning point was with my second ex. As you guys know, he raped me. I'm not going to go into much detail about that, but even then, before, like, he had done sexual things to me without my consent, but I had never said no. And the key point to remember is that the word no is not the important thing, it's the word yes. Like, consent is yes. Consent isn't no. Consent is yes, okay? So, even though I had never consented, said yes to it. And, yeah, So, like, even before then, I had started to be sort of introspective and realising that, oh wait, this is actually destructive behaviour that I'm engaging in. I don't want this. But yeah, like I said, I'm not going into too much detail around that because it is a part of my life which I have come to terms with and processed now, and I've put it away. The point is, it did leave me with a lot of trauma, which I think did contribute to why, when I'm in a bad place, it has contributed to me being incredibly sex repulsed. Because I think before I'm just not interested in general, but I think that's what's made me be sometimes like, oh my god, this is the most disgusting thing ever, keep it away from me, is what I'm saying. Anyway, so this is like intersectional with mental health, and I've already been touching about this. And this is so dumb because I went into my third relationship, and when did it end? So I went to my third relationship, and that ended about a year ago, and we've been together about a year. And I went into that one being clear that I was asexual because I knew I was asexual, but I was still doing the stupid, dumbass, destructive sexual behaviour, even though I didn't want to, because I thought it made me cool, and because he was a virgin nerd, and I was like, okay, you know, again, that I was still trying to be someone I wasn't, and he actually ended up being a really sexual person as a catalyst by me. Like, I enabled him, but the problem was with that was that I wasn't able to heal like from my sexual trauma because I had shown him that I was a sexual person even though I wasn't, and it even led me to do sexual things with some of my friends even though I didn't necessarily want to. I just did it because I thought, hey, it makes me cool in their eyes. It makes me, I don't know, I still saw it as some sort of twisted bonding thing, and while I do see sex as a bonding thing, not in the sense that I was doing it then, because I wasn't even that comfortable with doing it. I just did it because I had no one else to hang out with, and I thought that made me cool. Literally, all it comes down to is me just behaving in ways that I had thought to make me cool, because, as you guys know, I still struggle today with the connections and all that, and my camera is going to cut out in a second. Again, if anyone still knows how to get over the stupid 30-minute limit on my Canon, help me. So yeah, like I said, it just boils down to the fact I was socialised into believing being sexual made you popular, and I struggle with making friends normally, so that's the avenue I took. But I know better now, obviously. So this is back to the present. So this is fourth and final topic, which is healing and exploring kink. So obviously I'm aware that I'm ace now, and even though I'm still trying to unlearn those horrible behaviours that have been instilled into me, I'm in a place where most of the time I only do sexual things because I want to, And it's basically I'm in a place now where I'm healing and I'm finally able to explore my sexuality by my own terms. That's the problem, because at the young age I'd been groomed. I'd never been able to explore my own sexuality without other people's influences and their wants and desires of me being forced onto me. So now I'm in a place where I'm able to explore it now I'm in a place where I'm able to explore it. And I don't even necessarily see certain kinks or sexual acts as sexual, but rather I see them from the non-sexual lens of bonding and intimacy, which is why kink is one of the ways I have been exploring it in the most recent ways, in terms of the deep intimate connections you can make via kink, because it involves a lot of vulnerability and a lot of trust. And that's why I am exploring kink, despite the fact I'm asexual, because I imagine to some people it might seem kind of weird and asexual exploring kink, and I'm just kink isn't inherently sexual. Some things, there are other factors, other psychological factors which go into that, and I am all about the psychological factors of just learning to be able to trust your partner and all that, and that's how I'm healing and how I'm learning about my sexuality. So I think while I use the word asexual as a sort of umbrella meaning for me, because I do slide about the spectrum, I think when I'm healed and a lot more comfortable, I think saying I'm demisexual might be more accurate, because for me I will only do sexual things with a partner that I trust, which is why I say that I'm healing, because with my current partner I am healing a lot, and it's overall just a really good bonding moment for me like, because of the love and the care that goes into it, rather than, like I said, whatever thing motivates people who get turned on normally, if you know what I mean. I don't know, because I can't, like I said, that's why I'm pretty sure I'm asexual, because I've never seen it from the lens that my other friends have, because I used to have friends who were like, oh my god, yeah, I was so turned on, and all that, and all this, and I'm just like, I don't understand, it's not that great, you know. So that's why I'm just like, yeah, that's why I explore it. Like, I'm definitely exploring my sexuality now, but I'm definitely exploring it for more of the sort of physical pleasure it can give, and more of the mental stimulation, like bonding moment it gives for me. And like, basically, like, there are many ways to be ace, and there are many ways to be sexual, and there are many ways to explore it, and as long as you're not hurting anyone, and as long as you're doing it, and as long as if you're doing it with someone, you're doing it with respect and all that, it's good, just go for it, you know. I don't know if any of this was coherent at all. Basically, I'm just going to try and surmise it, but basically, I had other people's ideas of sexuality forced upon me when I was young, and in places where I wasn't able to really be introspective and emotionally aware of my own desires, and thus I embodied being a sexual person. And because of my sort of inability to form strong, proper emotional connections with people, I had used sexuality as a form of sort of forming relationships, even though, and which obviously weren't inherently healthy because they didn't have the emotional foundations for it. But, and obviously I've had negative experiences as a result of that, and it's compounded with my mental illnesses being a form of self-destructive behaviour. But now I'm a lot more aware of myself, and I know what I do and why I do it. And so I'm able to be healing now, and I'm able to explore my own sexuality on my own terms. I mean, like, an evidence or fact to that is the fact that I kind of want to start feeling sexy again. But, like, I want to feel sexy. Like, because I know I'm sexy, but I want to feel it as a form of empowerment. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's literally just bad influences, bad role models growing up, bad ideas of what I should be, and only now I'm learning about who I really am, and I'm being able to heal and explore things, and hopefully all the trauma will eventually just be smoothed over, and I'll be done with it, and I'll be able to form happy, healthy relationships. Because you guys know I'm still on I'm still on the bullshit for most of the time. I'm still learning a lot of things, but that is the main thing. And I know this was a kind of long video, but I don't know, it's a bit of Andie lore for ya. So you know how I am, and you know that yeah, I am asexual. I will still go underneath the umbrella term, but I'm someone who's healing from emotional and physical trauma as a result of bad sexual experiences. But I'm now able to comfortably explore that, perhaps through kink, and just in general as I learn to be more honest with myself, and I learn to form healthy emotional relationships with people first before I let myself into such compromising situations, because they won't be compromising anymore. I'll be there because I want to be. If that makes sense? Does that make sense? I feel as though there probably are quite a few people who have gone through the same thing as me, especially if you are not white and you have been groomed in such a way and you are seen as a fetish. Like, it still pisses me off to this day, because we don't get to enjoy our innocence as a child because we're already immediately sexualized. That's why I was picked on when I was so young, because the infantilization in Asians, don't get me started. That's another story for a different thing. But anyway, like I said, it's like just one large part of my identity due to my experiences, and obviously I'm in a great period of growth and change right now, and it's like, I think once you learn to be honest with yourselves and find what makes you happy, that's the step forwards. Anyway, if you're discovering you're still ace or realizing you're not, it's still valid. Like I said, there's no right way to be right. Learning about yourself is just the way of life. And who knows, maybe when I'm fully healed, I might be demi-ace. I don't know. Like I said, I don't get turned on like normal people do. For me, it's more, like I said, for me, sexual things are more a trust exercise / bonding thing rather than the other feelings people associate with them. Like I said, I can't empathize because I never had them. Like, I've never had those feelings. So yeah, I think that made sense. Let me know if you guys have any sort of your own sort of story / journey about your sexuality, or if you're unsure about anything, just let me know down below in the comments. I do love learning about you guys. It's just reassuring to know that you're not alone in these sort of things. And learning about yourself and your identity is a really tricky business, because sometimes it takes you a long time to get to a point where you can be introspective about yourself and realise you've been going about things in a way which isn't truly you. And that's what I'm saying. Now that I'm so glad that I've realised now that yes, I'm asexual, because it's given me the ability to step back and take control of that aspect of me now, instead of allowing it to be influenced by people who just want me, who just want the concept of me and have forced that upon me. Like, I know better now, and I'm just gonna keep on being me, and I'm gonna keep on healing, keep on growing. And that's that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you found it useful, maybe in any way for you, or if any parts of my story resonate with you. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it should do with some people, because I know I can't be alone in the whole thing, in that whole aspect of having concepts forced upon you. Because I think I'm kind of just frustrated at the fact that it took me so long to realise that I wasn't being who I was. But as you guys know, mental illnesses can sort of skew your perception and pull the wool over your eyes and convince you that doing things that you'd be doing are okay. And as you guys know, I've been in a depressive rut for a very long time since the rape incident, and only now I'm healing, which is why it's allowed me to be introspective about these things. Even if I wasn't too coherent about getting out of my mouth hole, but you guys get the gist. You guys know what I'm like at this point, if you're the subscriber who's interested in the dumb sort of Andie law backgrounds of who I am and how I'm fucked up today and how I'm undoing that fucked upness. But yeah, thank you for listening to my story. And if you ever want me to do any more Andie talks on certain topics, just let me know down below. When I do Andie talks, they will come into the idea of it being educational, but also just my experience. And just give me an opportunity to be introspective about certain things that I may have not been introspective about just yet. But yes, yeah. I would usually have all my usual outro spiel, but whatever. Andie out. Click the circular channel icon to subscribe. To watch more videos, click any of the videos down below. See you in my next one.